I can give you a list of the most annoying comedians. That's a big list. That's a big list.
Next comic, give it loud everybody for Anthony Eugenio. We're up next comic. Very funny. Wayne Russell, everybody.
Welcome to the Open Mic Pain with Anthony and Wayne podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an Open Mic Pain with Anthony and Wayne. We're here with another special guest edition. Super excited because today we have the owner of Mic'd Up Comedy Productions. He has a cajillion other jobs. He teaches comedy as well. He's also filming his comedy special this weekend at the Nashua Center for the Arts, which is me and Wayne are going. We got Jacques Lambert's going. It's really going to be a full house, so you guys should get tickets before they last. But we have Mike Katrobis. How you doing, buddy?
Living the dream in my basement while my family sleeps.
Oh, that is the dream.
That's how I'm doing.
And as always, we have somebody whose biggest credit is he took a class with Mike Katrobis, and that is Wayne Russell. How you doing, buddy?
Doing really good.
Hey,
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Yeah, definitely do.
It's all about the credits, right? You know.
It is.
Yes, that's
Technically, I've opened for Mike Katrobis because you closed out that show. So
That is very true.
that's something I learned.
It's big.
Yep, it's huge.
I closed for Steve Bjork then, if we're going by those rules.
Yeah, right. Yeah, technically. I mean, write it any way you want to.
That's how I have to. That's the only way to get by.
So, Mike, thank you so much for carving time out of your day to speak with us.
Absolutely.
So we'll get right to the brass tacks here. The first thing we always start with asking people is I'm really curious about your start in stand-up comedy. You've been doing comedy for 30 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get technical, my first open mic was in 1993 at Stitches Comedy Club, which I believe is the Paradise Rock Club now, if that's even still there. But it was a big-time club back in the day called Stitches. I never done comedy, never thought about comedy. I was hosting karaoke at a bar in Dover, New Hampshire. And I can't sing, so I would just do funny stuff as I was singing. And one night we did it before the comedy show, and someone comes up and he goes, "Hey, I'm the booker for comedy." He goes, "Have you ever done comedy?" I go, "No." He goes, "Well, how much material have you written?" I go, "What? What? What's material?" And he goes, "Do you have anything written down?" I go, "No, I just crack jokes as I'm going." So he goes, "No, you should try to do open mics." And he started to, get me to do that. So finally I go, "Oh yeah, I'm ready." And I just sign up at this thing. Back then, we didn't have 72 open mics a night. Back then, you sign up and like 2 months later, you go on a show. And it was hosted by the late, great Patrice O'Neill.
Wow.
No shit.
I went up on stage and, as they say in comedy terms, ate a giant bag of dicks. My brother, who was in college at the time, rented a van and brought all kinds of college friends down there. I don't know what I was doing. Like, I came out there and like these funny characters I did and stuff. But for some reason, I just said, you know what? I like this. And I want to figure it out. So for the next few years, I mean, I did like 1 or 2 open mics a year because that's how bad it was. Sometimes you were 3 or 4 months out before you got stage time. So,
Wow.
yeah, that was my beginning.
That's wild.
Holy
Yeah.
shit, though. Patrice O'Neill. Wow, that is a hell of a start
He
to get
he
on
literally
there.
opened the first 2 open mics I did, Stitches and then Nick's Comedy Stop. Patrice was the host at both of them.
Wow. Yeah, I think the Paradise changed again to something else, but I remember a couple of years ago, Louis C.K. did like a surprise performance at the Paradise. I think it was
Yep.
kind of like an ode to Stitches,
Yep.
which is really cool that you got to do that during that time. So when did you, like, how long until you broke out of open mics? Like, what was your open mic experience like? Because obviously that's the kind of pain that we like to talk about here.
It was, it was different again back then. And God, I feel old saying back then. But back then there weren't bars on every corner. There was just a handful of open mic nights. Dick Doherty had one, Nick's Comedy Stop, Stitches, and you literally had to get on lists. But when you went there, it was just kind of like now, a ton of comedians hanging out. But they weren't hanging out because there were 27 comedians on the bill. They were hanging out just to hang out and be around comedians. Like, there were maybe 10 people on a show. I was at one a couple of weeks ago, like 26 comedians went up on a night. That was unheard of back then. So for us, it was literally you go to one and hope a spot opens up. When it doesn't, you hang out for a bit and you go, okay, the next one's down the street. Let's go. 4 or 5 guys will all just walk down the street and go, hey, any spots available? So you were just begging for time. There weren't sign-up sheets like to walk into a club. It was literally if you weren't on the list, you crossed your fingers until you got to know people. And then sometimes they go, all right, I'll put you on for 5, But it was hard. It was really hard to get stage time.
That seems like I almost want to call it a quicker way though, because to me, my 1 year in comedy so far, the biggest thing I've learned is that like your interpersonal marketing, talking to people physically in person, is the number one way to get stage time and to get out there and not just be sending messages on computers and shit like that. So I imagine back then you had to do that, which I'm sure carved a lot of experience.
You have to now too, but there's so many places to go that these comedians now would rather go find stage time than go mingle with professionals that could help them.
Mm-hmm.
A Friday or Saturday night, why are you going to an open mic night? Why are you not trying to go to a club? So let's just say, for example, you guys see that I'm performing at a club, right? If there's a bar at the club or a way to hang out, why wouldn't you want to go there, talk to me, mingle with me, watch professionals that are now getting paid to do it, and go, and then all of a sudden, sometime I would go, you know what, we could fit you guys on for 5, Jacques, for example, who goes to a lot of people's shows, big supporter of comedy. Mm-hmm. Last year, in like June or September or something, I did an outdoor show and he bought a ticket. He showed up and I go, you want to do 5? Because he came to support and he came to talk and hang out with me and Bjork and someone else, So why are you going to so many open mics, especially the ones that don't help you?
Mm-hmm.
You guys know there's 4,000 open mic nights, right? And there are some that are absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
But you feel you want stage time, right? This is what helped me become a teacher because I was never taught these rules and how to figure out how to get around it. And that's why it took me so long to get to the place I am, because there was nobody pointing me in the right direction. So.
Oh yeah, we have we reviewed every open mic basically because of the show. We went everywhere and did everything, and for a while it felt as if we would just want to do a new one every time. And now we are a lot more. I would say, is it helpful to us? Like you mentioned, there's one in The Point in Boston that is run by Cam Morton, which is a fantastic open mic.
Yep,
that draws a real crowd, gets real people there. He's a fantastic host. He's going to get the energy proper. And then so something like that, I put a lot more value on than something like, I'm going to somewhere south of Boston that's in a weird dive bar that everybody hates me, that I'm even starting talking. And I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm just losing emphasis in my material.
There are some, and for example, and I love Chase Spillane, but Cagney's is literally all comedians. You know what I mean? Somebody might bring a friend from time to time, but that's also a 3-hour open mic where you're not performing in front of real people. They're all worried about their notes and they're all looking down at their own stuff. They're not ignoring you. They're just focused on their own stuff. So how much value does it have?
That's one thing I loved about your mic that you just started in Berlin at 19 Carter. You actually got a really nice crowd there.
Yeah.
And they were all there to listen and to laugh. And there was no bar, so there's no alcohol, which, usually people get lubed up. They like to laugh a little more, but they didn't need that. Right. They were there to laugh. That was a great time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice. Hopefully it keeps going that way. No.
And there's not many like that.
No, God, no. It's hard. Look, I feel bad for comedians coming up right now because, one, there is just too much competition. Okay, so how do you stand out in the crowd? 2, how do you get bookers to look at you? Look, sorry guys, but we're all average white guys, basically. Right? Anthony, you're a little darker, But
I hang on that with every grip of my fingers when I'm
like, oh no,
I'm like, hello.
Yeah.
Take
whatever you can to be different because those are the people getting stage time. But how do you guys get yourselves ahead? Because if you're not standing out like a Jimmy Cash who has a hook, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying Jimmy is the best comedian in the world. By the way, Jimmy's one of my students.
Love Jimmy.
Oh, no kidding.
I preach about that. Yeah, years ago, that's how he started. He took my intro to stand-up, but he did the work, right? Now he's great. But if he didn't have the hook, would he be as far along as he is? No. Somebody saw the hook and liked it. He got the stage time and got better.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Now he's selling out, mini theaters and things like that, and getting booked everywhere. But how do we, even myself as a middle-aged white guy, how do I stand out? You don't. You try to be as good as you can. So choosing the right open mic that's going to help you get better is probably the most difficult job in the world for new comedians. And the fact that these open micers are putting on what they consider to be real shows on the weekends, where all they're doing is spotlighting their open mic friends, is starting to bury the Boston industry.
Wow.
It's rough. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of those shows. I've spoken with Jacques about this quite a bit, where you can go to some of these shows for fairly inexpensive on a Friday or Saturday night for, let's say, $10-15, or you could go to open mic A, B, and C and see it for free on a Tuesday.
Yep.
Because it's not much different material.
It's also giving people egos they shouldn't have yet. Look, I worked hard to become a headliner in the Boston area, right? There are kids now that are barely openers that are closing out an open mic night, and they're billed as the headliner. And that it kind of hurts. Like, Jesus, I actually worked.
Oh, and they got a comedy special on YouTube and all that they're promoting, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing?
What the hell is going on? Like, I went through the ringer. I drove 3 hours to Bangor, Maine to do a 10-minute spot because they paid me $25, but it was an actual paid gig. You know what I mean? Like, these guys going, oh, my friend has a bar, and then it's, you guys are going to, sometimes you're going to catch me going off, and if you got to stop me, go ahead. But what also drives me nuts about these shows that people put on is it looks like you're in somebody's basement. Looks like you're in a shitty bar. They don't even take the time to put up a backdrop or anything to at least make it look legit. When I book a show, when I run a show, like, look, that church was different. That was an open mic. But when you watch me run a professional show, if there's not a decent stage, I have a portable stage. I have a portable backdrop. I have a spotlight. Because why do you want to, one, do a show in the dark or based on the lights in the room? Why not, if you're going to run a room, run it professionally.
Yep.
And then when comedians reach out to me and go, hey, I'd love to get booked by you, I go, great, send me a tape. They send me the tape of them standing by a chair, where the guy's running the dishwasher in the background, and I just go, I don't even want to watch it. I just don't.
Hear that, open micers? For God's sake, stop. Like, I told Jacques the other day, actually, feel bad for bookers because you guys get like ladies on Tinder amount of messages, and it's like, how do you stand out in that crowd? And the problem is if you're like sending out ugly fucking pictures of yourself and not really taking into account what that's going to be, they're going to swipe whatever direction is the wrong one. I don't know. I'm too old for that. Whatever one it was.
It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
Same with headshots. If I'm going to book you on a show, stand in front of a black curtain and just take a normal picture of yourself so I can use it somehow. Don't make me go to Facebook and pull off something horrible or try to clip something of you on stage. Everyone has a camera.
This is great. Who's your top 5 least favorite comedians? Let's go down that road. You seem open.
I can't even give you, there's too many. I can give you a list of the most annoying comedians. That's a big list. That's a big list.
I think about that all the time because then again, we're talking ladies on Tinder here. So that means that not only are you getting a tremendous amount of messages, but you are getting a small faction of your following that are sending way too many messages. And man, that's got to be a tough thing to break.
And I'm okay sometimes if you want to send me a monthly checking in email. And 9 out of 10 times I will respond with my cliche line, I'll keep you in mind. But I reply to you. I'm not like a lot of bookers that just delete the email. I at least go, look, I saw the email. Your name is now back in here for a minute. Some people go over the top where they send me, here's my avails and a new clip and here's another headshot and a thing. Okay. Easy.
Yeah,
about, hey, Mike?
No need for me to send you another tape because it was at your Berlin show. That was my newest tape that I just made. So that's how fucking excited I was about it. I was like, that's going to be tough to send this to him because I think You saw it.
Don't send me this one either. Or don't send me an email after let's say I give you a shot and I let you open on a show. Don't send me an email a month later going, "Hey, haven't heard from you. I worked one show for you. Thought there'd be more." That's the delete button. You can go now.
Yeah, definitely. There is. We got recently, so 1 year in, and about month 8, we got our first paid shows in the same week of each other, which was fantastic, and gotten about one a month since then. And I remember the same thing after my first one. It was like I didn't send anything, but definitely in the petty back of my head, I'm like, what the fuck? I murdered. Like, what are you? You're not going to put me on every fucking show now after I just did that. But then your real brain comes in and says that you don't do shit. Actually, there's a million of them, but I feel it.
Here's the thing, though. If you could tell every open micer out there, if they wanna get noticed, you should all get together. Not 50 of you, maybe 8 to 10 of you. Get a venue, set up a backdrop, a light, and a real camera. Invite all your friends and family, sell the bastard out, and record your tapes. Everyone does 10 minutes, and then you can always cut the best 10 out of it, best 5 out of there to use as your demo. But do it as a team. Get together with people, instead of just trying to record a night and go, "Oh, I'll record tonight because it might be good." Set it up. Set yourself up for success.
Yep.
Yeah, CapCut now too, which is an app on the phone. I gotta make a shout out to there. Is so good for putting your sets out there, because if you're just filming on your iPhone and then sending the set over that way, you have the host announcing you, which is useless. Fucking, why would you ever need that? Just start on the joke or something in the beginning. Why else? Like at the end when you have the host walking up and all that stuff, you don't need any of that. Like I try to cut usually like 2 to 3 minutes at the best I can, because I know, why would you listen to more than that? I mean, Jesus Christ,
We don't.
How much time do we have?
We don't.
Yeah, no way. I barely listen to my sets more than 2 minutes.
Because just like when I teach, I go, first of all, the crowd's going to decide if they like you in the first 30 seconds, right? If you come out with an obnoxious joke, if you come out all awkward, they're going to turn on you and it's not going to go well. So when I watch a tape, I go, okay, how do they present themselves when they get on stage? How is their first 30 seconds to a minute? And then I go, okay, I can stick around for another minute, but I'll jump off in 30 seconds to a minute a lot of times, because I'm like, I don't feel it. I don't like it, But if I like it, I'll watch 2 or 3 minutes of it and go, okay, it's not just a one joke, thing. They actually got some material.
Yep. So let's move forward a little bit into, because you've brought it up, your classes. When did you start putting on classes? I know I took your hosting classes, so I don't know if you ever listened to any of our episodes, but we do have like a mini drinking game where anytime I say Mike Atrobus, there's a shot, because I talk about your hosting class so often. So for anybody listening now, just drink the whole fucking handle.
That is great. You realize how much of a compliment that is?
I loved it. Honestly, it was.
He does it so much it fucking pisses me off. That's how much he does it. Everybody will be like, no, it was great. But if you remember Mike Atrobus' class on, I'm like, I remember.
Well, you had so much great information on everything. And I feel like you went above and beyond what you had advertised and what you were going to give us. And then on top of that, the showcase at the end, that was back in August. So I started in March. It was April, May, June, July, August, 6 months in.
Yep.
To get in front of a crowd like that, and it actually it went pretty well for me. It was a huge boost to my ego, and not in a bad way, and like a good way to, I want to keep doing this better. So the whole day as a whole was a jumping point for me as to, let's like really pay attention to this. But anyways,
so I started 9 years ago. I think it was like 9 years ago. I've done a lot of work with Boston Casting. So they all of a sudden looked at me one day and they go, "Hey, we're adding to our repertoire of classes. Any interest in teaching a stand-up class?" And I go, "I've really taught a stand-up class before. I just kind of and at the time I'm like, I don't really know how to teach, because I don't have a standard way of writing a joke, breaking down a joke. Like I don't have a standard way of doing that. But if I can just teach people how to create 5 minutes and call it almost like a bucket list type thing, where it's like, okay, I'm not going to teach you to be a comedian, but I'll get you on stage." Mm-hmm. So the first couple of classes I taught over the years, were very vanilla. It was both me and them learning how to do this. And then I started getting good at it, and I go, okay, now I get what I need to teach these people. I need to teach them how to take their story, break down the story, and then punch up the story while building their character on stage, which is the number one thing people don't realize. They go, how do you write? I go, well, first of all, who are you writing for? And they're like, what do you mean? I go, who's the character on stage? If you don't know who that is, you don't know who you're writing for. So, are you angry white guy? Are you depressed guy? Who are you? And then you'll learn how to write for that person. So as I learned that that's really what I need to focus on, classes got easier to teach.
We went to your inaugural show at Navigation, and you were kind enough to stick around at the end and talk to Anthony and I and Sam, and there was somebody else, I don't recall his name, but you were nice enough to stick around and talk a little bit about that. And you mentioned finding your character, finding who you are. And I've thought about that almost pretty much every day since then. And I've been trying to figure that out about myself. Like, who am I portraying when I step on a stage?
Yeah, how you made it click. I've mentioned it on the podcast because it was pretty cool representation of that. Because people say all the time how to find your voice and how to find your character, I think, is a synonym for that. And how you exemplified that, which was insane. I've never seen it before. It's almost like, do you know Casey Crawford?
Yep.
You know, when he gets ready to do his set, he kind of leans into the mic, and like you can tell that he's getting into character. When you were describing who you write for, your voice broke into the character that I hear you do on stage. Like your style of stand-up, like it had a couple cracks in it as you were going, like exactly
Right.
like you do in your stuff. And I was like, wow, he just went into character while he was describing that you need to go into character, and I saw the change. And I was like, wow, that's where you got to get to. You got to figure that out. So yeah, we've been definitely working on that, and it's been up and right for sure.
I've changed over the years who the character is, because when I started comedy, I was in my 20s. So I was beer drinking, dating women, getting high guy, Then I got in my 30s and I'm like, okay, now I actually had a day job. So I'm a little more flustered guy. Late 30s into 40s, I was like, okay, am I settling down? Am I not going to settle down? Now I just fucking hate women because they stress me out. So the guy I used to do was like, I was angry the whole time, right? And then I got married and had a kid, and now I'm just broken, right? So
Yeah.
it's changed, and now I know who to write for, I'm just 53, just trying to get through it, and things like that, and I know who I write for. A lot of people don't, and you can see it in the material because you go, that doesn't fit you. Or you'll see these comedians, and there's many of them, and I'll never point them out, but I want to punch them in the head, where they'll go, oh, back on the dating apps again. And I go, you're married with 2 kids. You're not on the dating apps. Why are you writing material for somebody you're not? Mm-hmm. So even for me, there are some jokes. Look, like a lot of comedians, because I've never done a special, which I'll get into later, I've never had to change too many jokes. So there's some jokes that have worked for years, but why am I getting rid of them? I haven't been on TV. So anyways, but I wrote it when I was single. I kept it and I adjusted it when I was in a relationship. Then I adjusted it again when I got married. So the joke still works, but I'm not going, oh God, dating is so tough in your 50s. I'm married. So I just go, being married in your 50s is so, but people don't know how to do that because they don't know what their character is, so they can't adjust it.
Yeah, I've been trying to put together the problem that I talked about with Al Gonacher last week that we had on. He was talking about a similar idea of writing for your character. And my problem is I have a lot of jokes that are definitely like personal to me in the character that I want to be. Like the character I try to write for is like the voice in your head that says the terrible thing that you keep in there. I want to be, that's the voice that I want to have outwardly. Like that's, I say that thing, but it's know it all while knowing nothing. Like that's what I try to write for. But there are some jokes that I have that are just absurdist, that have really no path behind them at all. They're just insane, that make no sense. Like I have a joke about meeting a prostitute in Lawrence, and that a whole setup to it never happened, has nothing to do with any of my other material, but it's so silly that it makes me happy to do it. So that's the conflict that I fight with all the time, is going like, I know that's not my character, but goddamn, is it fun to say that.
But here's the thing.
I think that's
Go ahead, Wayne.
I was gonna say, I think sometimes that's where an open mic comes in handy, where you get that shit off your chest, where you're like, hey, that doesn't really fit me, but I just really want to do it. So
It's exactly what's an open mic for.
Yep.
Dude, that's exactly what it's for. Sometimes you're playing with stuff going, can I twist it and make it part of my material? Can I have a step off point and go, all right, I can go over here, but then I got to come back again. So yeah, that's an open mic is to practice. If you keep going to an open mic night and doing the same material that you know works, you're wasting your time. So I'll go to open mics from time to time.
true.
And if you catch me doing my material, well, what am I doing? I don't need to come to an open mic to do material. I might open with a small bit that's mine and close with a small bit. Just mentally, I kind of need to make sure it goes well. But in the middle, it's either new shit I'm working on or old shit that I'm trying to find a new way to deliver. So think about that when you go. If you already know that there's a joke that works every time, you shouldn't be doing it at an open mic night. There's no point. You're not fixing it anymore. You're not adjusting it. You're just delivering it because you think you need to perform. Those people at the open mic could care less if you're funny or not because they're all comedians.
It's true.
The Berlin one, that was a little different. There was an audience. You kind of wanted to put your best foot forward. Plus as a booker sitting in the audience, you kind of want to make sure you shine. And I don't know your old jokes. But if you're going to the point or you're going to Cagney's or somewhere else, throw out the stuff that you know doesn't work because who cares?
Mm-hmm.
I go to Cagney's. I bring students there sometimes, and I just sit there and watch them. And I'm like, bring your notebook on stage. And if you even go, I want to talk about a prostitute. Even if you don't know where you're going yet, go up there and write prostitute and go, I'm going to talk about a prostitute for a minute, and just try to do it. You can't fail at an open mic night. Keep that in your head. You can't fail.
Yeah, that's the transition that I'm dying to get into because right now, obviously, to us, the open mics feel like the show because that's what we get. So that's it's kind of like, hey, this is what I got. So I'm gonna go. Like if I eat shit here, which I do, that is my meal for the week. So I gotta ration it out properly. But when you start getting onto real shows and you get in front of real crowds, you're like, man, that's what it's all for, is to get to that. So the transition to being able to use open mics as more of a tool is definitely we're on the precipice of being able to do that. That's like our biggest goal is to use open mics that way. Well, right now we vanity use them. We're like, I want to go to the Cabot, off Cabot or whatever on Thursdays for vanity because it's beautiful and it's awesome. And there's a bunch of the 40 comics that go up, but they're all there and I get the lights in my face and you feel like you're on stage.
Well, even Berlin, at least there was a stage, you know what I mean? And, it's a little different than being level at the bar, you know what I mean? And it definitely that's what I was talking about earlier with the backdrop and the light. When you feel like you're in a professional setting, it changes how you think, you know what I mean? It changes how you deliver your stuff too. So it's always good to get on a real stage.
It really does. That's a really good point. I don't think we've really touched upon that, but there's a huge difference between standing in the corner of a pizza shop versus like this past Friday. Jacques was hosting a show up at Smitty's in Tilton and offered me 5 minutes to go up, and I did it. And it was a small stage, but it was a stage, lights out, spotlights, and it was much like Wicked Funny, and there's such a different energy you get telling your jokes in that setting versus some guy watching soccer or football at the bar waiting for his slice of pepperoni to come out. Love that. Such a good feeling. That
sucks. We do that all the time. We call it negative people because there's a level of people like, oh, what happens when there's not a lot of people there? I'm like, I perform for negative people, there are so few people that the ones that are there are very mad that I'm even doing it. And so you get a negative experience from it.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah, we feel you there. But again, that's why we are pitching the better open mics and going again. So another thing about your class, just to fill that up, because I think it's important to note, I was skeptical of classes when I first started comedy myself, because you hear on Rogan and all that kind of stuff where he's like, you can't teach comedy, he says it all the time. And so I got ingrained in my head that I'm like, oh, you can't. So why would you do a class? And Wayne signed up for it. And I was like, I don't know. I just don't. I'll go see it because I want to see what that is like and all that. And then again, blown away by the showcase that was afterwards, like getting in front of that amount of audience and getting a class before, I think is all the best comics that we know now started doing it that way. and got the taste of like Lauren Sims, who we love, got her taste in comedy by doing a class with Tony V and then going
Yep.
onto a showcase. But those are just so valuable. So it's on your website, right? You can sign up for your classes, Mic'd Up Comedy.
Yeah, yeah, you can go on there, and there's usually there'll be links up there as I do the classes. But Joe Rogan's right. You can't teach comedy. What you can do is teach people to have the tools to work on it themselves. I can't teach you to be funny. I could teach you how to be professional on stage. In my classes, in the regular ones, the intro to stand-up, I teach how to hold the microphone. I teach how to walk on stage. I teach you, you know what I mean? So you look professional and feel professional. You know, I teach you this is what you need to learn how to become a better writer. I don't teach you how to write, but I will give you the tools to take the next step on your own. Now, if you go to a level 2 class, that's when I help you focus on your writing. But here's the thing with classes in Boston and why some people get sour. There are a lot of people teaching comedy in Boston that should not be teaching comedy. My rule of thumb is in any profession, if you have not made it to the top of your game, how do you teach other people to do it? So if a feature act that's never headlined is teaching a comedy class, so you tell me you're going to teach me how to get to the middle, it doesn't do me any good. Mm-hmm. You know, so there are people out there that with no credentials whatsoever teaching comedy classes, and I just think that's ridiculous.
Well, Godfrey told a story about Seinfeld once that gave him advice that I think is pretty astute to this, which he said, like, how long you've been doing comedy is your literal age in comedy. So if you've been doing comedy for a year, you're a 1-year-old. If you've been doing comedy for 10 years, you're still 10 years old. So what the hell do you know at that point? So I think the fact that you've gotten to the point where, again, 30 years in the game, it's kind of, at 30 years old, I think you got your shit together enough where you can teach someone something. But it's got to be, like you said,
that's how I feel.
At this point, this coming week, first of all, happy belated birthday, by the way. It was yesterday.
Thank you.
You have the best birthday present. You're filming your special on Saturday.
Yeah.
What is that process like? What have you thought about doing it before?
Having a fucking baby, I can imagine.
And why
shit.
now is like, because we like Anthony mentioned, we know some people that have filmed a special or multiple specials and they're only a few years in, and we'll say specials, and they're out and about and all that. And here you are, obviously well versed in comedy after 30 years, and now's the time for you to do it. What led to that decision to wait this long to do it now?
Well, I had an interview the other day for a little local magazine, a little local paper in Nashua where they're having it. It's like that local rag you pick up that tells you, where entertainment is this weekend, that kind of fluff stories. But he asked me that same question, and he said, why now? And I was very honest. I said, reason number one, I'm getting lazy. I'm getting lazy at writing comedy. And I'm doing all these same jokes. And again, I know I'm not famous, and this special may not go anywhere. You know what I mean? But I want to put it out there to force myself to write new stuff. I want to put this on a shelf and go, it's done. And then as time goes on, I'll slowly start dropping jokes and replacing them. The other reason I want to do it is that stuff is polished, and I think I'm ready. And I think I want something more than the VFW hall in the boonies of Maine. So to me, I go, okay, here's the time. All my friends are, most of their kids are grown up, not mine, and I go, I think I got enough of a following that I can fill a small theater, and so the process getting there, it's easier for me than a lot of people because one of my 47 jobs is I work in sports TV. So I work on the sidelines of the Pats games, the Red Sox games, the Brewers games, and I work with people in the industry. So getting the cameras and the camera people, a couple of phone calls, right? So that was easy. The producer who's doing it for me for 10 years ran his own talk show on cable access. So he knows how to process a show. Everyone else volunteering for me, I've done favors for. So it's literally going, all right, time to bring it in. So the process is one, hardest thing to do. Hardest thing is getting the cameras, getting the camera crew and making sure that's right. Hardest part number two, filling a room that technically has like 700 seats. But if you fill 400, you filled the whole bottom and you're just not touching the balcony. right? I could care less about the balcony because the shots are going to be in the main area. Because the performance part of it is the least of my worry, the least of my anxiety. You know, granted, most of the people that have bought tickets so far are all friends of mine. Some that went to high school with me that have never seen me perform.
Wow.
Luckily, we're already over 350 tickets to go, with 350 tickets sold, which is almost the whole bottom half. So I'm not even. So that stress is gone. Now it's literally making sure I put the set in order the way I really want it. But the hardest thing of this whole thing, to wrap it in a book, the hardest thing is my final joke the one I want to end with? Is it going to be the strong closer that I'm hoping for that's going to want to make people jump out of their seats? And the answer is, I have no fucking idea. I still don't know.
There you go, people. 30 years in the game, and you're going to still have no fucking idea what to do, and until you do it.
And I have 3 shows this week before that, and I'm going to try 3 different closers this week.
Oh, there you go.
And see which one I feel really puts it together. You know?
Now,
So it's
have
hard.
you been layering your headlining sets the last, since you've known you've been doing the special? Have you just been doing your hour or half hour, 45 minutes, straight, or have you broken into sections and try to refine each section? What's been the refining process for you?
That's exactly what I'm doing. So what I do is, I'm gonna do probably an hour on Saturday night. So if I do a 40-minute set or a 30-minute set one night, I'll leave certain things out and I'll go, okay, this one, I want to make sure it's right. Once I go, yeah, that's exactly how I want to deliver it, the next night, I won't even do that piece. Like I just told you guys to do at open mic nights. Once I know it already works, I'll put it to the side and go, is this one polished? And I've changed jokes in the past couple of weeks that I've done for years because I go, I think it's going to work better this way, and that's how I want it to be immortalized. So yeah, I've been making it up in pieces, and even this week, I'll do the same thing. I might start differently.
Do you have any plans for how you're going to release this? Is it going to be a YouTube thing, or you going to sell it off your website?
So I have some connections. I have a guy that knows a guy, kind of thing. So before it goes anywhere, those guys are going to look at it, and there's a possibility that it could get in front of the right people.
Nice.
So I'm going to let that process happen first. I'm also filming a lot of B-roll stuff. I got a guy following me through the back stands. He's going to walk down the lines. So if the special itself doesn't go anywhere, we're going to put it together with a whole behind-the-scenes into the show and release it on YouTube.
That'd be awesome. You could have picked a better venue.
But
Damn.
that's
awesome too. That's such a nice venue.
Isn't it
It's so
amazing
great.
there? And again, being my hometown, I kind of love to go back to where I started.
Do you have any names in mind, or are you keeping
That's
that close to your chest?
So, yeah, I'm not really keeping it that close to my chest. There's not a lot I'm not sure. So 10, 12 years ago, maybe, I did a show, and the show went, and just like most people, I recorded on my phone. But for some reason, the app on the phone worked so well, I cut it and produced my own album that went on iTunes, right? Like anyone can do these days. And I used a title for that, and then I used it again when I had a podcast for a couple of years pre-pandemic. But because neither one of those things have made it big, I think I'm going to use it. And it's called Here's What Happened to Me.
That kind of fits for your for your material that I've seen. It's so perfect.
It does. So I think I'm going to go
I like
with it.
that.
Because again, it's another phrase I've used for years, and now I can kind of close it out.
I wasn't sure if you were going to go with the.
You remember what my first
that?
one's going to be, Wayne? You remember what my
I
first
think it was say
special
my
title
fucking
was
name
gonna be?
right, if I remember correctly.
That's it. Yeah, that's what I'm dealing with now. That's my biggest comedy gripe hole to go over. I'm like, if Mike Katrobis can get people to say his fucking name right, I will get people to say.
But you know
my
how
name
long it took, and do you know how rough it is now? And Wayne will tell you in the hosting class. I tell that I go learn the headliner's name.
It's funny.
If you're
I
going to be
was
the
going
host,
through my notes from the hosting class, and that one stuck out to me. Say, get the name right. And I was like, oh, Anthony.
Right. Write it phonetically. Don't learn how to spell it. Write it phonetically. I don't care. But learn how to say the headliner's name. If you want to mess up someone else's name, that's fine.
A couple times now, I've written my name out phonetically in order. Oh yeah, so a couple times I've written my name out phonetically and put it on a card for the host, and both times I've gotten ravagely shit on for the host for phonetically writing out my name. They called me a nerd. I'm like, I don't know what to do here. I got to just take my lumps.
And you do.
Yeah.
And I love every second.
There's a
of it.
lot of lumps to be taken. Yeah.
I didn't know if you were going to go with mic'd up. It's kind of like but I do like.
Yeah, I went through a lot. I went through a lot of ideas, and the other one was here's the thing, because I say that a bunch of times in my set. Here's the thing. I was going to go with that, but then I was watching some other comedy specials, and I go, so many people just say that just because they're talking. I'm like, that's too cliche. I already have the one for my next album because I already know what I'm starting to write. So I already got the title for my next album, which is on my business card. It's eventually you'll hire me for something.
One thing I forgot to ask you when we were talking about open mics and you started the Berlin open mic. And I was kind of talking to Jacques about this when he told me you were starting that. That's a really brilliant move on your part, being a booker, because you're going to get talent there every month, and without having to sit there and comb through emails, you'll be able to get a live performance from a handful of different comedians every month to say, all right, I could use this. I couldn't, I don't want that. I could use that. Did that cross your mind when you were putting that together, or?
Do you think I want to sit at an open mic? No, but that's exactly why I'm doing it. It's literally business, not because let's give a spot for more comedians. No, it's for me to go, I need new people. Well, that's why, speaking of my brilliance, that's why I have another one in Portsmouth that's more of a showcase that I'm booking 10-minute spots on so I can see the next level of people.
Oh, there we go.
If I see your 5 and I go, do you have more? I'll go, hey, if you want to take a drive to Portsmouth twice a month on a Sunday night, I put only 5 comedians up, 10 minutes apiece. I got a host and a closer, like this Sunday night. Steve Bjork's closing out the showcase. And I'm giving 5 people 10 minutes to step up the game.
That's awesome. I live in Kittery. Where in Portsmouth do you do them at?
Gibbs Garage on Lafayette.
Yeah. Damn. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's twice a month. Yeah, the guy that owns it, Neil Gibb, owns a restaurant there. He owns one in Stratham, and he owns a private club in Portsmouth.
Great. Steve's awesome. I've talked about it quite a few times, but the first time I saw Steve live was at the Luna Theater, and he was doing the joke, and I'll probably bleep this part out, but the joke about having the ultrasound on his testicles.
Yep.
And it was a brand new joke there at the time. And I watched him, I don't want to say struggle, but really work through it, like to the point where he restarted the joke. He's like, I'm working this out. I'm going to start it over. I'm going to try something different. And he did the same joke again differently, and it hit just as hard the second time. And then the next time I saw him do that joke was a few months later when he was in the National Center for the Arts with you and Chris Zito. And what he did with that joke in that couple-month span was fucking brilliant. And for somebody just starting out, trying to figure out how to do a 30 or 60-second joke or whatever, to watch him do a whole bit in that amount of time and just have it come out as complete brilliance was fun to watch.
Do you guys go to the Winter Circle at all?
Yeah.
I haven't been there. I was supposed to be there, but I was sick today.
So you watch Justin McKinney. So you watch Justin McKinney, who goes there literally with notes every week. And sometimes, like I said earlier, just a couple of words about something he thought about, and he just works it out. Again, that's professional level. But, yeah, that's why he goes there, to work it out.
I actually had Steve Bjork there at the Winter Circle once, and he went before me. And it was the first time I ever saw a professional comedian command a room, which was a really good lesson for me because the room... 6 people went up, 6 people ate shit. Like, just big, giant bags of dicks, like you said at the beginning. Like, that level of bad. And I was like, damn, I'm going to suck. Because now, at this time, for me, I'm basically like a boat in the middle of the ocean. Like wherever the waves are, if the waves are good, I'm going to be alive. If the waves are bad, I'm going to die. That's how I treat comedy at the moment. And Steve went up, and I saw him see the room is not great, and flip to a part of his book that I think he was like, get the bad room good type of jokes.
Yep.
And he brought the energy up into the, and I killed after him because he did that, and the room was primed for it. And that, again, huge lesson, because so much of us eat shit in those scenarios.
Well, and a lot of people don't understand when all of a sudden they go, "Oh God, I got that guy going before me. He's going to kill." Instead of being afraid of following him, ride the wave of what he just did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody goes, "Oh, I don't want to follow that guy." I'm like, "Yes, you do, because the crowd's freaking ready. So go in there and hit it."
Oh, I never understood that ever in the history of me doing so far. I hear it all the time, like, "Oh, I went after this guy and he killed. Like, I can't believe I'm going to eat shit now." And I'm like, man, you know how many times I go up to the guy bombing his ass off so bad that people are leaving, and then I got to go up? Like,
That's what you don't want.
Better.
That's the one you. Yeah, that's what you don't want.
I wanted that in my first mic. I've told the story before, but Anthony dragged me to my first open mic. It was at Strange Brew. And I was sitting there like, I'm not going up. There's no way. I'm not fucking going up. And I go up to the bar to get a drink, and I meet this guy. And I introduced myself, and, you know, I was like, how long are you doing comedy? He goes, about 12 years. I took some time off. I'm just back for a few months or whatever. And I was like, fuck, this guy is going to fucking kill. And I had the same mentality, like, he's going to make me look silly. He went up and bombed, like, so bad. And I never want to see anybody do bad, but that gave me the confidence, like, all right, if that guy can go up and eat shit, I can definitely go up and eat shit. That's the only time I ever wanted to see somebody do bad, and he did. And it was great.
It was a win-win.
It sure
You
was.
gotta get comfortable with bombing, though. That's the greatest thing about. I'm sure you missed those days, Mike. But the days where 6 out of 10 sets you bombed so hard at, there is a resilience that you build up from that. Like, I'm so used to it now. You can't hurt me. Like, no, not even my personal life. I know you can't say anything that would hurt me anymore.
You have to get there. You have to have a thick skin. One, because a lot of open micers are a-holes. Mm-hmm. They think they're better than they are. They're going to put you down because it's their turf and their open mic and they're doing and I'm running shows. You know, so not only do you have to get on stage and struggle, but you have to deal with the other attitudes and bullshit. It's too much. I could, if I was starting out today, I would never survive.
There's so many local kings. Like, you know, people that are, like you say, they think they're way better than they are. I had one guy come up to me. Anthony was there for this. I took it so personally, too. But I went up and I was working on a joke. One of the jokes I did at your Berlin show. And he came up. He's like, hey, that joke about Down for Love, somebody does that exact joke. I'm like, well, then they stole it from me because I fucking wrote that. I worked so hard on that. And he's like, I don't know. It was like, you son of a bitch.
I say it in my class. I say it every day. There is no topic that hasn't been covered.
Yeah.
None.
Yep.
You can't tell me you have something original. So if somebody did something similar to that, they may have. But you wrote it your way, you delivered it your way, so it's your joke.
Right.
You think I'm the first guy to talk about a colonoscopy? No. But I talk about my experience, so you're doing it your way. So you can just tell him to go fuck himself.
Yeah, that's essentially what happened. But not so many words because I'm not that confrontational, but I said it afterwards in my car on my way home.
Yeah, he said it to a steering wheel on the ride home. Yeah, that's for sure.
Don't you ever say that to me again.
Yeah, Wayne once, it was very funny. Wayne had a very predictable tag at the end of one of his jokes. It was not predictable, but I'm just going to say like basic. It was somebody in his family was dead and he made a joke about him, and the final tag was, well, they're dead, so who cares about them? And that was the end of the joke. And then somebody did that same tag like a week later about someone's dead. And they're like, oh, they're dead, so who cares about them? And Wayne sent me like 50 text messages. Do you think they hurt me? Do you think they filmed me? Do you think that what they? I was like, Wayne, you think that's the joke
Wayne.
that they stole from you? Was that thought?
It wasn't that bad. You make it way worse than it was.
Oh, you had the whole you had a map behind you and you had fucking rubber bands going across it. You're like, where were they last week?
Wow.
Oh shit.
Too funny. So how much time do you guys have each? Now here's a loaded question before you answer that question. I hate when I ask this question and people go, oh, I got probably 20 minutes, and they have 10. Even though they wrote 20, they have 10 that they could perform. How much time do you guys have performable and confident time?
For me, it'd be 10.
So-
If I was to look you in the face, I would say I have 10 minutes that I feel like I could be entertaining the whole 10 minutes.
Okay.
If you asked me to do 15, could I stretch it out? 100%. Would it all be great? No. But 10 of it would be awesome.
See, that's the honesty you should have.
Yeah,
Anthony,
well,
what about you?
I'm the fucking greatest, so it's tough for me to, to answer this question. No, I would say, so I did one for Delusional that was 10 to 15. I ended at 12, and I was really, really excited about the 12 that I did. So I think that'd be my max range, too, in the Wayne Rain, where I've done 15, but I am going to start breaking out the prostitute and Lawrence jokes, so I have to get to 15. So if we can get to 12, we will stay with the reins on in there. I remember I took my set, my notebook, my joke book, and I put it on ChatGPT, like the joke book, and I allowed
Yep.
ChatGPT to go through my whole joke book, and I'm like, how much time do I have? And it said I had like an hour and 20 minutes, and I'm like, man, I have 10 minutes I can use out of this.
That's funny.
You are right, though. That is a loaded question because that stuff that I performed in front of a real crowd, and same thing with Anthony, the stuff that we performed in front of a real crowd. Who knows the stuff that we haven't put on? Maybe we have more. I don't know. But like you said, people at open mics suck. So it's hard to gauge that.
It's a tricky
but that's
game 'cause
why-
the people at open mics suck, and then the people at real shows sometimes are too good. Where you're like, man, that guy's saying nonsense up there, and they're like, he's killing. And because us, we go once a month. We're basically getting a show. If the audience is that good, sometimes you can be lulled into the your stuff's good when it sucks range, and then at open mics, everybody hates you, so you can be doing good stuff that people also suck. So it is stuff. Figure out what stuff you have that's good.
To get on a real show, to get on a professional show, 10 minutes will get you nothing. 10 minutes will get you a guest spot or maybe a hosting position. You need a solid 15 to be considered to be an opening act. 25 to 30 to be a feature, and then 40 to 50 to be a headliner. That's standard old school times. You know what I mean? But a solid 10 gets you great guest spots. That's what you need for that. Not a half-ass 10. You need a solid 10, and you should be able to get guest spots on real shows.
Yeah, and that's about where we're at. I mean, if we're being honest with ourselves, like you said, we're 1 year in the game. I think for us getting guest spots and that type of thing, we're super fucking pumped about it. Really, like when someone's like, "Hey, we got a paid spot in X," I'm like, I don't care. I give the $10 you're gonna give me to the bartender. All I care about is just getting time in and real shows. That's what it's all about. So
it's all about getting in front of real crowds and working it out. So yeah, we're not pretending to be something that we're not yet.
I'll trick people into let me do 15 minutes. So don't you worry. I will make that someone's accident.
I get a lot of people that say that to me too. They're like, "Hey, when do you think I can get X amount of time with you?" I go, "When I see your 10 minutes do really well, I will give you another 5. But if I see you struggle in 10, I'm not going to let you struggle for another 5. So, I need to see like a couple times of you doing that 10 minutes where I go, wow, that 10 minutes is fucking solid. Like, that's great. Now let me see your extra 5 because I know that your 10 will handle it. And if you spatter it a few more minutes. So I want you to build. I have one of my students, you probably met him, Adam.
Oh, yeah.
Adam Perea. Okay. Adam is always asking me to do more time. I go, I'm still watching you struggle with a minute or two here and there. Your 10 is not blowing me away yet. And he gets it, and he's working at it, and that's just kind of how it goes. So,
well, that's why I take your fucking class for sure. Is a good testament to that because you can get the time worked into a way that's more equitable for you and that type of stuff. And also, if sometimes people tell you that your stuff sucks and they've been doing it for the same year as you, and you're like, your stuff sucks. But at least with yours, when you say that to us, we're like, okay, at least it's coming from somebody that knows what it's talking about. You know what I mean? So we definitely do appreciate that. But we're going to round it up soon in this, so we're not wasting any more of your time. Where can people find you?
MikeKComic.com is my personal website. And all my social media links, all that good stuff is connected on there. Yep, did you get it?
Yep. Yep, got it. Yeah, no, we're having some internet thing where you're going out every once in a while, but I'm certain that it's going to come up fine on the recording because it records from your computer and then uploads it on the computer. So we just
Oh,
have to-
okay. Just play with
some
it.
good
Well,
software.
well, I'll do this. I'll do this as my last thing. If you guys are available on Sunday night, April 7th, I'd like to offer you both a 10-minute spot in Portsmouth if you're interested.
Nope,
Oh, you just
that-
did a really cool thing and then it broke up.
Of course,
Did
it's
you
got to
do that?
freeze up as soon as we do that.
I was like, he's
Take two.
asking us to do something, Wayne, and it's we're fucking gonna fuck us.
I'm like,
you
I
can take it
offer
back
them a
now
spot,
if
and they
you like.
both freeze. I was like, is that a yes? Is that a no?
Hey, it doesn't matter what date you said. I'm fucking in. It doesn't. My mom's birthday. I'm in.
Sunday, April 7th.
Yep. Thank you very much. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Gibbs
we're in.
Garage. Gibbs Garage. I'll get the poster done, and I'll get you guys on there, and I want to see you guys do 10 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be there.
Look at that, Wayne.
I'll even shower that
Our
day.
10-minute dick joke ready. It's gonna be good.
So,
Like Lord of the Rings.
So
get all your Kittery fans to cross the border.
They're coming.
oh man, oh, we appreciate that, Mike. Thank you. Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to that.
Of course.
Fantastic. So everybody, remember, check out Mike this weekend at Nashua Center for the Arts. And it's going to be a special taping, and it's going to be one that's earned, you pieces of shit out there. And also go to one of his classes like we're going to do. And then April 7th, guy, you better come see us. We're going to go to Gibbs Garage, and we're going to do 10 minutes, everybody. So remember, this has been a worthy step for the Quest for Laps special guest, Mike Atrobus. Thanks a lot, brother.
Thanks for having us, guys. Thanks for having me. Us. Thanks a lot of me.
Yeah, the Holy Spirit in you.
That's great. That is great. That is. You realize how much of a compliment that is?